Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Today I get to share with you a sneak peek of the Autumn Gathering collection. It's a new release from Trinity Stamps. We're going to start off with something really cool, and that is these new blending buddy brushes. These are like ergonomic brushes. They have a short handle that fits nicely in the palm of your hand. It has a cover that you can reuse, and the brush is super soft and very rounded. So this is a great brush for your stenciling and your ink blending, and I'm going to show you them in action today. Now you'll notice at the top there's a little hole, and what could that be for? Well, that is a nice place to add a little something to indicate the color you're going to dedicate your brush to. So here's what I did. I took a piece of white string and a Copic marker and colored that string to be the color I want this brush to be dedicated to. And in this case, that's purple. So I'm coloring that on both sides with my Copic marker and just tinting it the color that I want it to be, because I don't have string or twine in every single color. So this way with white, I can color it just the color I want it to be. And now it's got a little tassel, and that will be a nice indicator looking down from the top on this blending brush of what color I'm going to use it for. So let's do some ink blending. I'm going to do just 3 different shades of purple on this square piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. Of course, your cardstock does come into play when you're doing ink blending, and something very smooth like Bristol is great. But these brushes, being rounded on the end, just glide over the paper so nicely, and the ink blending is pretty effortless, and I found them very easy to use. I think that you'll love them too. They're a nice size, easy to hold in your hand, a little more comfortable than the long handle brush style. So there we have our ink blended background with the 3 colors of purple. Now before I store this with its little cap, I'm just going to dust off a little bit of the extra color onto a paper towel, and then you can see I turned it or twisted it a little bit as I put it in, so I didn't accidentally catch any of the bristles. Now I did find some white cord that's like stretchy in my scraps, and I decided to use that for the rest of my brushes. Okay, now let's move on to some stencils. These are the new color swatch stencils. They are 6 by 6, and they're really fun because they mimic things that we do all the time, which is use a color wheel and swatch out our products, right? But we're going to have fun with these today and use them in like as a background. We'll show you what you could do with some ink blending on these and these new brushes. So you can see how this one looks very much like a color wheel, and then here we have this one that's more like swatches. Now you could totally swatch out like markers or something on this if you wanted, really use it as a tool but also as a fun background, so very versatile. So let's do a little bit of ink blending. I'm going to do just 3 colors and have them overlap to give us those blended colors that we love so much, the orange, the green, and the purple. So first I'm adding on my red, and I'm just trying to take up about 1/3 of this circle as I do that. And then I can set my brush back in its little top, pull out the next color and ink blend. But I don't want to move my stencil, so I wanted to make sure and wipe off any excess red ink from the stencil that I could with a paper towel. So when I ink blend my yellow, I'm not going to pick up any extra ink that I don't want. So now we have our yellow. I love having a dedicated brush for the main colors because then I can easily just grab a brush and go. I don't have to worry if it has, you know, red ink on it and I want to do yellow, for instance. So I really love that. Having just, you know, like 7 or 8 brushes is really doable, and I think it's even affordable, and it just makes your crafting so much like faster when you can just grab a brush and start blending. And now we're moving on to the blue. So this will be our last color, and I will say I did go over all of these colors one more time just to intensify them and really get a nice blend on the edges. So then I will have a nice blended background that I can use for a fun card. This would be a great background for like a crafty friend card. So I think it's really gorgeous and tons of fun. I also did one with the squares, the like swatched background stencil. You can see that here using the same colors, and they just overlap right there in the center. And these are really fun. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can use them, and you'll enjoy using them as much as I did. Okay, let's move on to the next stencil. This is the retro diamond pattern. There's 3 stencils in here, and they measure 6 by 9. And this is going to give you a pattern that looks like Argyle. I love it. I'm so excited about this. So there are three stencils, like I said, and they are going to work well together, as you see when I lay these down on top of each other, how that's going to work. And then you've got the striped piece you can fill in the background. So I'm going to show you a couple ways you can use this. So first, let's look at the back of the package for kind of an example that shows you what you can do with this and how you get that kind of Argyle type look. Okay, next is the Argyle stitched background die. I'm showing you this now before I show you how the stencil works because these two work well together. So I'm going to show you the stencils first and then I'll show you the stitched die and how it coordinates and works well with the stencils. Okay, now back to the stencils. We have little printing at the bottom that shows you stencil A, stencil B, and stencil C. Now what I did is took a 9x6 piece of paper, so it's the same size as the stencil, taped it down, and that's easy for me to then line up the next stencil because the paper is the same size. So there's a little tip for you, and then you can always cut it down and have extra pieces to make other things. So I'm using our new blending brushes to fill this in. I'm using my darkest purple first. And you can see what stencil A looks like all by itself. And then when I set this down, like I said, it's easy to line up because I have the same size paper, but you can also line up the diamonds corner to corner with the diamonds you already stenciled. I'm going to rub that off a little bit because I'm actually going to my like mid-tone purple next. And then I will ink blend that. And I'm telling you, these brushes make quick work of the stenciling. They're just the right size. So here, let's see what A and B stencils look like together. I mean, right, you could stop right here. This is so cool. But let's see what that striped stencil is going to do for us. So I have this with the writing face up, just like I did on the last two, and that is going to let me add in another layer of color. So now I'm using my lightest color and adding that in and lining it up with the darkest diamonds. Now you can play around with what shades of color you do or different colors all together. I'm going to show you that next, but here you can see all of it together with that stripe. Now you can clean this off first and flip it over, and you can actually use this again and fill in your whole background. Okay, now let's take a look at that stitched diamonds. Oh my word, this is so cool. It's going to look so good just by itself, but we can also stencil with it. So I'm lining up stencil A with the stitching right through the middle of each diamond. So I did orange. I'm going to line this up again corner to corner with my diamonds. I added some really dark gray ink, and then let's bring out the stripes. So I'm lining this up with the diamonds that are already there, taping it in place, and I'll use my blending brush and again add in another layer of color. So this time I'm doing yellow, and I'm just going over what's already there. You can see that first layer is already exposed. So it does take a little thought and color selection because you're easily going to get ink on the diamonds that are already there. So just think about that when you're choosing colors. Now, when I peeled this off, it looks really cool, but also I felt like, why don't we go ahead and try flipping the stencil over and inking up the rest of the white space. So I'm doing that with the yellow again, and this is a really dark kind of yellow, and so I think it goes really well with the orange. But I did feel like my orange got a little bit lost in the background, so I reapplied the stencil and added some more orange and intensified those orange diamonds a little bit more. And here's the card that I made with it with some splatter, and I am in love with it. There's some more new products on there. You can check those out in the Trinity Stamps shop. And then let's look at one more card made with this because I wanted to show you how the stenciling is done inside of the stitching on this background. Isn't that really cool? So a different way you can use that stencil and die together. Oh my word, I'm so excited about this. Trinity Stamps now has their own glue. This is the Crafty Gluefriend. This is a large bottle of glue. It is actually 1 ounce, and I love the name, Crafty Gluefriend. Now, it secures and bonds paper, glitter, embellishments, felt, and more. It has a precision tip. It goes on white and dries clear, and it's made in the USA. So when you get yours, you're going to want to remove the plastic at the top. I needed the help of some scissors just to make a little cut right there underneath, and then I could pull it right off. Now let's take a look at that tip. So it has a precision tip. It's also plastic, and you can clear anything that's dried out of the tip with a needle if you need to. And now we're going to squeeze this glue and see just what it looks like. So you can see that it's white, but it almost has a bit of translucency to it, which almost gives it a gel-like quality, but it is easy to get precision lines and precision dots just by squeezing a little bit less on the tube. And there's what the glue looks like all dry. Now let's try and glue down some embellishments onto some glitter paper. Like, let's put this to the test. You can see I've already glued down the little headstones and bats, and now I'm adding some ghosts. So I'm really trying this out on different surfaces, and even those headstones are only halfway on the paper. So I could really see how well this glue is going to hold these things down onto a really textured kind of paper. So I let that set, and once the glue is dry, I brought it back so you could see exactly it does dry clear, and it held them on really well. So I am loving this glue, and I'll be trying it out lots more. I thank you so much for stopping by and letting me share these cool new things from our latest release at Trinity Stamps. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook too, and we'll see you very soon on a new video. Happy stamping! Bye!